I like to dress in pretty basic outfits, and I've really been thinking a lot about this concept of basics versus statement pieces. The advice that we're given is like, okay, build up your basics first, and then we're going to focus on statement pieces later. And then, even when you have this wardrobe that's made up of basics and statement pieces, the two don't always like go together super well or kind of feel like they blend together. It almost feels like you have these two separate wardrobes suddenly, a basic boring wardrobe and like a statement eccentric wardrobe, and like how are we supposed to make them meet in the middle? And this is what got me thinking about the concept of statement basics. Why aren't more people talking about statement basics? So the thing about basics is that they can often leave you feeling underwhelmed by your outfit, or like something is missing, like it's super boring, plain, and like nothing is really happening, right? And it's so fascinating to me because you look at people who have a very minimalist style, like say maybe Emma Hill or even Anouk Eve, and their style never seems boring to me. You know, they're diehard minimalists and they're wearing pieces that might seem boring to someone else, but somehow they just rock it as their vibe and their entire look. And then you get like the maximalists on the other side of the equation, and women are pairing, like clashing these prints together, wearing as many colors as possible, and they just have that completely opposite take on how they want to dress themselves. And that also looks really stunning and, you know, quite dramatic and striking on them. But most of us kind of live like in between these two, and we're kind of drawn to elements of being minimal and elements of being more statement. And so like, how do you work if you're sort of in between the two ends of the spectrum? It's very easy if you're minimal, and it's very easy if you're maximalist. You know, it's a clear cut sort of aesthetic to work within. But if you're more like nuanced and you don't want to be that minimal or that maximal, is that even a word? How are we going to use statement basics to sort of evolve our outfits to that next level of style that I think a lot of us are reaching for? If you love this kind of style content, please feel free to stick around, consider subscribing. Welcome to the family. I would love to have you here, and yeah, leave some love down in the comments and I will come and say hi. Today we're going to talk about the top kind of statement basics that I kind of picked out and thought about. Please let me know if you disagree with my list, if you think there's something else that absolutely needs to be on this list of statement basics, and let's just dive right in, shall we? Let's go. Number one is the power color piece, or maybe we should call it like the goddess color piece. I don't really know what to call this one, but it's basically a color that is kind of outside of, or maybe just adjacent to, your regular normal comfort zone color palette that you always wear. It can be basic in absolutely every other respect, but the one thing that makes this particular basic a statement basic is that you have taken color and made it into the statement. So the color of the piece is something that makes it stand out from the rest of your outfit, or perhaps it causes this kind of stylistic tension with the rest of your outfit. A color that, according to your perfect colors or just your personal taste, you feel looks really good on you. It makes you glow, it makes you feel your best. It could be a power color in terms of like, okay, so let's get into color theory a little bit. So like color psychology, and I think this is different for everybody, but say something like a red might symbolize something like, you know, sexiness or power or passion, or, you know, even anger or danger. And whatever that kind of mood or that vibe is in that color, that's going to bring forward that aspect of your psychology when you wear it. If you compare red to something like yellow, I mean, instantly we're thinking sunshine, we're thinking beaches, we're thinking sunflowers, you know, bright, happy, bubbly, sunny disposition. And like a red and a yellow, if you're wearing either of those colors, that's saying something different about your mood for the day, or about who you are as a person, or the part of yourself that you're trying to bring forward on that day. It could be a color that you find you always get compliments on, And the thing is, you're never going to know, you know, which colors you're going to get complimented on until you kind of try a few of them out. But the key is to really love it on yourself first before you go outside looking for approval from other people. It's really more about making yourself happy in the clothes that you're wearing. If you choose something that's in your personal favorite color or your power color, that's automatically making more of a, you know, an intentional choice. It's not like something that you just picked out that millions of other people are also wearing. It's something that you chose that's distinctly you. And so it brings this kind of flavor and this authenticity to your style and to your outfit. If you're a neutral person, if you're a neutral girly, that's totally fine. That's more me. I really prefer neutrals most of the time. But there's always going to be colors that are slightly outside of the bounds, whether that be like a pale blue or like a pale pink, or maybe if you're more into more richer, deeper, earthy tones. You can basically choose any color out of the rainbow or otherwise, but just make sure that it's a color that makes you feel great. So the key here being that it's still primarily a functional item. It's still something that you can wear every day and blend with the rest of your wardrobe. It might have a conventional cut, conventional fabric, and everything else is exactly how you would have chosen it. And the only difference that makes it more of a statement is that it's in this color that's unexpected, that's unusual, or that is sort of, you know, evoking some part of your personality in some way. Statement basic number 2, this is 4, number 2 is anything handmade. And I feel like when you think handmade, you almost always think kind of like that boho or kind of college era days, but it doesn't only have to be for those more kind of natural vibe outfits. Because if you think about it, all of those Dragon Diffusion bags, they're hand woven, or like a Loewe puzzle bag, that's very high end, that's handmade. So it's still something that has been touched and crafted and made by human hands. And I think that any time that you take a basic and it's something that somebody has put time and effort and literally made and created with their own hands, it's going to bring this element of authenticity to your outfit. It basically says, I am not a robot. I'm not picking out, you know, all these mass-produced pieces that other people are also wearing. And it's not just about being individual, but it's also about remembering, you know, the tactile qualities of what you're wearing. I think that really makes something from just a regular basic that's forgettable into something that you get compliments on, that people notice, and that really allows your personal style to start becoming a little bit more nuanced and developed. It could be a piece of clothing that you knitted yourself, or that you know, made for yourself, or that was passed down in your family, or that you've inherited, you know. And I think there's something that has so much nostalgia, you know, kind of blended in with that, and it has so much more meaning. It's kind of one of one as opposed to one of millions. And that's just like you. You are a unique one-off, and so your personal style should reflect that as well. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Something handmade has history, it's living, it's breathing. Also, if it's not your style, you know, you can obviously buy into this at any level. It doesn't have to be like a friendship bracelet that you've made yourself. It can be at the level of the Loewe puzzle bag, and just having that knowledge that somebody has made that and crafted that with their own 2 hands is just something that brings, I don't know, that next level to a basic piece. Number 3, I'm calling it the Anthem Piece, okay? And this is a little bit more of a tricky one, but think of your favorite song, okay? You know it by heart, all the pauses between the notes, all the lyrics, or your favorite movie. You can quote it ad lib. You've seen it probably 500 times and you still never get tired of it. In fact, you probably even love it more and more. Every single time that you watch it becomes more comforting and nostalgic. These kind of things are familiar and we go back to them time and time again. So how do we bring this kind of quality into the clothing that we have? And I think it's by wearing and re-wearing our pieces over and over, and just remembering every time that we wear them that we keep on building new memories into them, that we keep on weaving more meaning into them over time, because we remember that's the shirt that I wore when, you know, it was my best friend's birthday. Finding these pieces in the first place, I think sometimes they're bought and sometimes they're made, if that makes sense. Like sometimes it's the love at first sight pieces, the ones that weren't on your wish list, that you weren't particularly, waiting for or looking for, but you just come across them and instantly love them. And it sort of goes beyond reason. It's just an intuitive thing. And then the more that you wear them, the more that you love them. And then other things, it's just about literally getting the wears out of them. It's about going to your closet and choosing pieces and wearing them over and over again, rather than constantly kind of turning your wardrobe over and constantly buying new pieces. Because if you're not giving your current wardrobe time to become iconic and to become, part of you, then it's never going to reach that level of nostalgia. It's never going to gather those memories. So on the one hand, it's choosing pieces that you genuinely love at the start of their life. And then it's also putting in the time, just like with any relationship really, of actively loving and using and wearing your pieces. I don't know if I can give anyone any advice as far as like, how do I choose a piece that I know I'm going to love forever? Sometimes it's kind of like this floaty concept, you can't always know. But I think the thing is that the more you practice strengthening your intuition as a muscle, the more that you begin to trust your own choices, and then just the stronger that intuition grows over time and the more you can rely on it. Number 4 is the detailed version. And this might seem like a really kind of obvious thing to say. I hope it's not a super obvious thing to say, but I think it's because I've been binging so much of Daily Helen's content. She's just fabulous, and I hope that most of you already follow her. I'll leave her channel below. But she is someone who just always recommends looking for particular details in all of your basics. And so why would you buy a plain t-shirt when you could buy like a pointelle t-shirt? Or like, why would you buy just a plain black tank top when you could buy something that's a little bit netted or a little bit sheer or has something a little bit different in the details than just the plain version? So like details could be anything from ribbing, from stripes, from a different pattern, to a slightly different fabric that might be unexpected, like a silk or a linen. It might be that the cut is slightly different, or it has a cutout, or it has buttons. The list is endless. If you shop for your basics at places like Everlane, COS, Uniqlo, and these places are great shops for basics, like no frills attached, essentially. And if you're looking for shops that are maybe like, okay, so where are the detailed basics living at? I'm still searching, honestly, for myself, but I feel like places like even Marks and Spencer's can do things like with an interesting ribbing or an alternative kind of a print or something like that. I saw some interesting kind of t-shirts and things like that on like Anthropology. And it really here depends also on your personal style words and the style kind of categories that you want to lean into. So think about if you want to take that basic in a more bohemian direction, if you want to take it in a more feminine direction. And so then you kind of have your North Star as far as what do I actually want the details on this basic to look like. And then you can kind of tailor your searching to those aesthetics, to those style categories, or to those style words as well. Also wanted to mention, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, I feel like the Iconic is such a good resource for, like, it has so many brands all in one place. And I just really appreciate that it has free returns as somebody who lives rurally and I can't go to shops and try things on, and I have 2 young kids. Sometimes I do need to have it shipped to me, be able to try it on and then send it back. I find that just so amazing. I do have a $20 voucher if you have never shopped with them before, so I'll leave my link for that down below as well. Obviously no pressure to shop there whatsoever, just thought I'd throw it out there. Okay, so number 5 is anything but medium. Okay, let's talk about playing it safe. I feel like so many of us, when we get paralyzed by decision fatigue, we tend to choose like the middle option, which is basically the same thing as making no decision, okay? It's not a baby tee, it's not an oversized tee, it's like the one in the middle, the one that's the most nothing. We make sort of this like non-decision and it ends up just being something that falls flat often, especially if all you own are these middle of the road pieces and you're pairing middle pieces with middle pieces. and there's kind of no statement there, there's no personality there, it's all just playing it safe. To me, I actually feel like these are the worst pieces, the pieces where we actually haven't made a decision, where we've been too exhausted and overwhelmed to actually choose what we want from that piece. They're like the most inoffensive, and somehow that just makes them so glaringly impersonal. And I think that if you want to start to evolve your style past the basics, you really need to start choosing a side. You need to start making decisions, and you need to start getting a little bit braver about the pieces that you're choosing. If you're someone who's really classic, if you're someone who really enjoys that middle of the road dressing, you probably will not be watching this video. You probably already know your style well enough to where you're like, I know what I like. It's a classic cut, it's a classic crew neck, it's a classic fit, it's a classic fabric, and that's what makes you feel happy and put together. And I celebrate that so much. And if that's not your style and you find yourself falling into this middle road and feeling like you're not representing yourself properly, this is why. It's because you need to start pushing yourself beyond the middle choice. You need to start actually picking a side. To quote my ex's dad, who was a chef, if you're going to put the flavor in, put the fucking flavor in. Personal style is not about being wishy-washy. It's not about being safe. It's about actually choosing something that you want to represent and express about yourself, and being non-apologetic about the choice that you've made. It's not about, is this going to make my outfit the most pleasing to everybody else? There's always going to be someone else who has something to say about your outfit. And the only voice that really matters is yours. So listen to yourself, listen really, really carefully to yourself, and start making those braver style choices, because this is what will start to evolve your personal style forward. I also wanted to quote a woman who I recently saw doing this amazing video about personal style. And she says on her video, if you're over the stage of questioning yourself, you'll naturally feel uncomfortable in clothes that don't fit with your personality. Whereas if you don't know who you are yet, you're always going to be questioning yourself. So really the first stage of personal style is in taking that time to get to know yourself, so that you can make those decisions a little bit more effortlessly. I'm just urging you not to compromise your personal style away by always playing it safe and by choosing the middle neutral ground. All right? Okay. Big exhale. Round of applause if you made it this far. Thank you so much for being here. Love chatting with you guys. Love it. Thank you for being here. And yes, I'll see you so shortly in my next one.